Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Rucker.
Here.
Alderman Hoffman.
Here.
Alderman Collins.
Here.
Alderman Rose.
Here.
Alderman Varela. Alderman Osteen. Mayor Harmonson.
Here. All right, we have a quorum.
Good evening, everyone. The first page of your packet is the agenda for this evening, but if you turn the page, that is the final rankings for everything that we did yesterday. The NB to the left means it was not budgeted. So I wanted to show you guys that. I had names on some of the submissions, but not names on the others, so I just numbered them 1 through 7.
We don't know who voted on what.
I'm sorry?
We don't know who voted which way.
We do not. I know some, like you put your name on yours, but there were others that did not put their names on. So figuring out who they were. So I just numbered them 1 through 7. I didn't want to guess.
Oh, yeah, I didn't go on it.
So that is,
Don't know who the politics is. Don't know who to try to bend their ear.
the final rankings of what we did yesterday. So we'll start with personnel expenditures. So we have budgeted for a 2.5% increase as a premium cost of living raise. CBIZ, which is who gives us the recommendation for that, actually recommended 2.6%. But we took it to 2.5, which is what we did last year. And then the merit raise chart that is proposed there, I would like to throw out that I would recommend reducing all of those by 1%. We are not in a balanced budget right now. So my proposal would be to either reduce the merit raise by 1% or the very bottom bullet. We also budgeted for a 1% match increase in the retirement fund. So if the employee contributes another 1%, the city would then contribute another 1%. And that would take total retirement contributions up to 15%, which is very similar to other retirements in the municipal government world. So I would propose either removing the 1% from the retirement contribution or removing a 1% reduction in the merit chart. I also wanted to make a note that any employee who has came off probation between July 1 and December 31st will not receive a merit raise. That way, we're not stacking up raises right after probation ended.
Do you know what percentage of the staff matches?
It's a lot.
Is it-
Carrie gets on it.
I haven't looked at it lately, but it's
It's a
very good
significant amount.
Participation, yes.
So, sorry. Only 2 minutes late. How are we so into this already? Merit raises are immediate pay. Retirement increases or matching funds are future funds. I think based on my personal opinion, I'd rather stick with the increase in merit raises than the matching retirement funds.
Okay.
Because merit raises are across the board, all employees. And yes, even though the majority of our employees may be part of our retirement programs, the merit raises are across the board for all employees.
Yeah.
As opposed to retirement rates.
Any
I
other
totally
thoughts on that?
agree.
Kevin?
I have a problem with merit raises, and let me explain my philosophy. An employee that's here, present employee, if we give, just for an example, if we give a merit raise of between 1% and 4%, the average merit raise is what, 2.5, 3?
Yeah. There's
Give or take.
actually, yes, between 3.5.
Let's just say for the heck of it, it's 3%.
Yep.
And we give a cost of living of 2.5%. So on an average, all employees that we have will get 5.5%. That doesn't do anything for us to attract new employees. The reason it doesn't is because when we have put out And if we hire a new employee that comes on board next year, the base pay doesn't change, except for the 2.5%.
Correct.
So it doesn't change that additional 3%. So we're not raising our base. And that's where I lean more towards giving a stronger base. I like merit, okay? I wish we could give a big merit and big vote, but I would like to lean towards a 3 or 4% across the board to everybody, and maybe a 1 or 2% merit. Therefore, we're raising the base, we're raising the level of pay that we're attracting people, and we need to raise that attractive pay. And then we're still treating the employees the same. The employees that are here are still gonna probably get the same amount of a 5.5%. They're just gonna get a straight, let's say, 4% cost of living and a 1.5 potential of merit. So we're still treating the employees here the same, but we're putting more emphasis on raising that base at the entry level. That's my concern. I'd like to be able to do to attract people.
Any other thoughts on personnel?
I think we have been very aggressive in the last 3 years on basically increasing those base pays. Off the top of my head, I think it's around 11% in the last 3 years on average for all base employee salaries. So I think we have aggressively tried to increase
We've done the cost of living.
the base and the quartiles where employees all stand. I don't know if increasing it a couple $100 per year on base salary is really going to attract a higher level employee than we only get for different positions. I see where you're coming from, Kevin. I just don't know if that's most effective or is really going to get us a bigger pool of potential employees. I'm looking at not potential employees, I'm looking at retention of current. And that's why I'm pushing for the merit increases, because that's across the board, 100% all employees are affected by that, as opposed to retirement matches, which not all employees, the majority do, but not all do. So therefore, that's singular to just those that participate in that program. I don't think that the base is that big of an issue because we've been so aggressive in the last few years on trying to raise that base because of what we just stated. Raise the base, get higher quality employees, more skilled employees. And we've been very aggressive with that in the last 3 years.
With what I just proposed, it would still give the present employees the same, theoretically the same amount. It's going to give them the same amount because you're either going to do, and I'll just pick a number. Let's say we take the merit and make the merit a maximum of 2%. Then based on our average of what historically we've been, the average employee is probably going to get about 1.25% merit. Okay. Then you take your cost of living of instead of 2.5, you take that and raise that to 4. Okay. Now your overall potential that we're putting out there right now, the overall potential we're putting out there is 6.5. This is putting out there a total of 6. Okay. But the employees are still going to get the 1.25 merit up the average, and they're going to get the 4% cost of living, so they're going to get 5.25%. The other way, they were going to get 5.5, so maybe we need to tweak it just a little bit. But I'm not trying to take money away from the present employees we have, not at all.
Well, that's
I'm trying to balance it. I totally agree with that. I'm just trying to do something to that entry level. And am I talking the entry level of the people sitting in here? No. I'm talking the entry level of our staff that's probably in classes of 6, 7, and 8, I think, somewhere in there. Rather than specifically give that class a higher amount, I'm trying to, again, raise the base, raise that base pay up more than just the 2.5%. Because based on what we're doing here, we're only going to raise that base up 2.5%. And and we're going to give that 2.5% to all the staff. The only difference is the staff's going to get some of that merit, and there's going to be none of that going to the base. So you're still going to be, your entry level is not being raised. Yes, we have in the past been raising it, but we only have been raising it cost of living, we haven't really bumped it up much more. I think once we bumped up a little more.
We were
than cost
aggressive
of
a few
living.
years ago, we didn't, I think, across the 7%.
Right, a few years ago we did, but, and that was because we raised that base up, and we didn't just raise the base, we raised the base and all the employees too.
Yeah.
I want to raise both of them as much as we can.
So my initial thoughts are, CBIZ is the one who recommended the 2.5% because that is the historical or I guess data-driven information that they provided. Also remember that we will get to this a little bit later, but we are recommending that the compensation study be done, which will address, what is the correct base pay for these positions, the job descriptions, and all of that. So kind of my thought is let's back off on the merit a little bit. The other thing is I personally feel much stronger about giving raises based on performance than I do just blanketly giving. I'm all about cost of living raises, and that's what CBIZ has recommended. But I think the rest of the raises that employees earn should be based on merit and performance. So I think raising the cost of living up to a 4 or 4.5 is going to be much more than what is industry standard for this year.
I have a question. So, Kevin, like you're saying, presumably you're trying to address people that we're trying to recruit
Yes.
so that it makes it more appealing. Thank you. Couldn't come up with that word. Appealing to try to fill open positions. So the people who are currently here would get the same amount of money, but it increases the base pay for new hires.
I think our base is on especially our class, like I said, I don't have
6, 7, 8.
6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
I think them, those need to be tweaked more up, and I was hoping we'd have the salary study thing done by now. I mean, that's why last year or this year earlier, I tried to push it through to get it done, or go ahead and get it done even a little bit after, but we're still in the same boat now. We're saying, well, we're waiting for that. Well, all along we're waiting for that. We're having challenges getting entry-level people. And I think our entry-level needs to be more than just the cost of living. But I don't want to take it away, but I do, I agree with everything what Devin said about the fact of performance, and I understand all that. But our direction, we have two problems. One, we need to take that entry level and get it up on those classes. And then two, we need to take the staff we have and give them a reasonable amount of cost of living increase, and give them something to strive for to continue to be a good employee.
I agree.
Devin, when can we expect this study to be done? Any idea?
I want to say was it 3 months they wanted to have it done? So if we started January 1, it would be done by the end of March.
All right, is it feasible because I agree with you, I like cost of living and merit-based, it's probably the military, but is it not feasible to do that, and then the compensation study comes back, if it identifies that as being an issue, we could then make an adjustment?
Yes.
Right, but we can make it a priority. So, I agree with you, but I would like to see the study come back. I'd like to go with your plan. The study comes back and says, nope, we can change it.
Are we having trouble filling positions? Like, you have
I have 3 communication officers with on the police side, would probably be reasonable
With 3 is better than we've been since I've been here. Right?
Yeah, but we've been pretty aggressive with.
Right.
We've been aggressive with the cost of living and the base. We have, and I will, and I just think we need to continue to be aggressive, continue to do that rather than just go back to the cost of living and not raise the base.
Any other thoughts? I think that's more.
Well, I do agree with you that if we're going to cut something, I would cut the matching percentages because we've actually had that twice since I've been here.
Considerably, yeah. And Kevin, I was going with the recruitment and the base level. But once again, I'm looking more right now than future. And across the board, I think that would sit better with our entire city staff if we do the immediate, as opposed to adjusting increases for recruitment purposes. It's a good, I mean, either way they're good. But
So, maybe I'm not understanding. You're saying instead of giving a 3.5 or 2.5% increase, give everybody, for easy numbers, a 4% cost of living increase, but reduce the merit. So everybody across the board gets 4%, and then merit is a smaller percentage. So everybody still gets both, correct?
The bottom line that I'm looking at, and I didn't have all this, before, but the bottom line is, I want the staff that's here to keep saying that maybe it needs to be a 4% across the board and a 2.5% merit, or, I mean, I don't have the exact numbers, but I want, if you're saying that the average merit is 3%, and we're doing, so based on what you're presenting here, the employees that are here, the average, all the employees here are going to be 5.5%.
Okay.
So
So then if we
everybody's
make
going to
it,
get a 2.5, and then you're going to have a 3% average. Some are going to get a smaller merit, some are going to get a little bit bigger. So if 5.5 is what everybody's going to be getting now, I would say, do something similar to that, to where it would be here. Do the merit raise would be 2, or the merit rate would be, the merit rate would maybe be dropped down to 3, but you would end up with the average being about 2, and then you do the cost of living at 3.5. The only reason I want to continue to bump that cost of living is because that raises the base of those levels. I'm just trying to get them to do that. If there's another way we can do around it, I would support it. I just trying to raise, and I guess, we had discussions even last year, specifically taking those levels 5, 6, and 7. I think it was actually 5, 6, 7, 8, and just taking those and raise just those bases another couple percent.
no, I actually agree, and I agree that, I know that 2.5 for cost of living raise is pretty standard, but man, the last couple of years seem a lot more expensive than standard. So, I agree with you. I think that the cost of living portion of it should be higher. And then offset it, but Rob, I also agree with you that I think if we have to cut something, that the retirement is.
part of why it seems higher is because when we had our last comprehensive study done, which was about 4 years ago, maybe 5, we basically, when we looked at all the rankings of our employees in different quartiles, we were so below the median quartile for every position in this organization, every position, that we had to aggressively start bumping up those to basically get us at least on par with state averages.
Okay,
And if we have back to recruitment purposes, is okay, if Lake Ozark, if Camden, if their starting salary for a police officer straight out of the academy is this dollar amount, and we're well below that, obviously we've lost a competitive edge. We need to get up to the average based on that study with all our surrounding communities. That's why we were so aggressive the last few years on bumping that up.
So the last 4 years, I'm not including what we're proposing here. So this will be from 22 to 25. We increased the base by 17.25%. So you add in, if we were to do a 2.5 this year, it would be 19.75% over the last 5 years.
But with the numbers though, even at 17%, basically just put us on par on a level playing field with other communities that are recruiting the same individuals we are. That's why we were so aggressive with those numbers, because we were below all our surrounding communities on the starting salaries for any baseline employee. So we had to try to get competitive, say, okay, at least our starting salary for, like I said, a police officer straight out of academy is at least the same as what they're going to get from Lake Ozark and Camden. At least we're now on an equal playing field. Then let's work, how do we recruit further and give more incentive to them, which is why I got more aggressive with the benefit side.
I got you.
But why don't we do 3% cost of living and 2.25 merit? Merit complement.
I can be on board with that.
So you wanna up the cost of living raise to 3, and then looking at the chart, drop all of those by
A quarter? Or, I'm sorry, half?
a half. So 4 would go to 3.5, 3.5 would go to 3, et cetera.
Yeah, okay.
Is that,
That's a fair comment. I think it's,
what about the 1% retirement?
I think,
I think that's,
I would like to support it, but I don't think we can support it.
I agree with
it's off
that.
the board.
From what I've seen, from what I've been able to, I mean,
I agree with that.
I would love to support it.
Leave it as it is.
I think we just can't afford it.
Leave it as it is or take it off?
I think we take off the one.
Take it off.
Take off the
1%.
match.
Yeah.
The
We
additional.
can have a lot.
I'd like, I
Okay.
just.
Okay.
And it's only, it's not because I don't think we, I want to do it, but we can't afford it.
I agree. Okay, so premium cost of living raise goes up to 3.
Yes,
Everything in the chart drops by 0.5%.
yes.
Now, moving on to health insurance, we budgeted a 5% increase on that. We've been in contact with NPR on what they're expecting. We've seen more like a 3% over the last year, but we wanted to make sure we had plenty there. And then we did a 3% on dental and vision. So all the personnel numbers that you will see the rest of this evening and tomorrow are based off of that. Any questions about any other personnel expenditures?
The health insurance, is that across the board?
Yes,
Single, dependents, doesn't matter, just.
I did a
flat.
flat 5%. Hopefully it comes in under that, but I just want to be covered.
Are you going to talk about the property insurance later?
Yes,
Because on your memo,
Yeah.
it's there.
it's there, it doesn't belong
I
here.
want to talk about that.
We will talk about that when we get to Maddie's budget, because that's where property and liability is for general
But
fund.
there's no increase in her budget for property. That's the problem.
Not what the draft that I sent out.
Okay. All right.
We had not received that
Okay, that's fine.
information,
That's fine. I know we're on personnel, but that.
Yeah.
Okay.
so. Now that you say that, I want to say I did do that.
It's been bugging me. It's like-
Yeah, so we did a 15% over what was projected for 25, which is under what was proposed.
Right.
So 15% on top of the 209.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
So
can't
every-
remember my numbers.
they're up there.
Okay, I was just concerned that it, from what I could see here and what I could see in the numbers, I didn't look like, anyway.
That just happened to end up almost being exactly what we budgeted for this year, but it came in under.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, I will turn this over to Carrie Bell to do debt and component units.
Let's see if I, mic's ready. Yes, I wanted to take an opportunity, since we are nearing completion of our 5 SRF loans, to kind of go back in history and show everybody where we've been, where we're at. So, it was my personal pleasure to be a part of the financing team for the water and the sewer for the second course main back in the late 90s. We started debt for water in 97, and we started the second course main in 2001. We had some conventional loans on the water system in the very early days, then we rolled up into the SRF program. The need was obvious to the city for a new water system and the second course main. And so the city took this to the voters in 1998, and on December 3rd, I included an official ballot for you to review. The citizens approved that, and there's also some information that was passed out to citizens at the time that kind of showed what this bond issue was gonna pay for, and how it was gonna be supported with CIT funds, and what some of the details of the projects were is also included. On the cover, which this page on the front, this is in your annual audit every year, but it's limited by 10-year history. So I went ahead and expanded it so you could see the entire history of the SRF bonding, beginning to the very end. actually, we do have a little bit of debt left in the 26 budget, but your last payment will actually be 1/1/27, so you will see zero debt service in the 27 budget. This is it. So,
And that would be sewer,
but,
and that would be sewer, because water is paid off. Water's paid
no,
off.
the last little piece is water.
Oh,
The
last water.
2007 was actually water.
That was the other way around.
So, it's gonna be up to this board and future boards if you decide whether you want to continue on it. Use these monies that you're not spending in debt service to do a pay-as-you-go, or to approach the voters with another bond issue, revenue bond issue in the future. If a bond issue ends up being in the city's future, the city will need to show capacity for repayment of those bonds. And that's what this sheet is helpful to look at where you're at with your operating expenses versus your revenue, and what level of capacity you currently have for any future bond issues. I also did want to show you the historical dependence of both water and sewer for capital improvement. And based on what I can find documenting the CIT from day one when the voters implemented that was to help with sewer. And then later, as water became a need, it rolled over to water. And I know that's not a legal limit on those funds, but historically, that's how they have been utilized.
Gary, will we, might not be the right spot to ask this, but will we get to where we need to build the water tower, which was $7 million or something like that? We're gonna need a bond, correct? No?
That's one tool. There's a lot of ways we can fund it.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is if we continue to, for lack of better terms, save our money up until we hit that project that we know is coming for $7 million, we could be putting ourselves into a better position to not bond or to bond, or does it matter? I'm just thinking down the road that $7 million is a lot for water tower. I don't know.
I mean, you're gonna have lots of options. I mean, a water tower can be funded through bonds, and I know there's some leasing options. You're gonna have a lot of options. Or, again, I mean, they save up some of the funds. The board has options. I kind of want you to see this, hopefully going forward, you continue to have options.
Okay.
And then just a tip, we just a little add-on here that isn't exactly debt, but it is related. In late 24 and early 25, the city implemented new rate increases. And per the budget that you got, or the draft budget currently, it looks like the estimates for 25 and the budget 26 pretty much reflect the 49% increase in sewer, and it only is reflecting about a 2% increase in water so far. So anyways, I hope you find that information helpful, and do you have any questions for me? Yes.
It's not a question so much as a comment. Alderman Hoffman brought up the $7 million for the water tower, et cetera, and bonding. But we need to remind the board that there have been discussions on future bonding for utilities, mainly going back to Tantera Estates, because our study for that was going to be a $10 million project for the city on their water sewer system. And we're kind of at a standstill right now on how that's moving forward, et cetera. So there have been discussions on how the city pay for that. Bonding would be the smartest idea, because it's a major, major project that's on the horizon, but it's kind of been on the background for a while.
Because we don't know if we can do it.
Because we don't know. There you go. There's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of gray area. But I just want to throw that out as a reminder to the board members that, yes, we can talk about bonding for future projects, but one of them that's been underlined for the last 2 years has been the Tantera Estates project.
But any of this has to go out to the vote of the public, is that
For bonding.
Revenue bonding,
right?
sure.
Because that's unlikely to pass.
That's, well, it's
But
going to be
there's
hard
some other
sell.
evidence that Jeff had talked about, which were, the borrowing through the state. That doesn't have.
That's the type of debt that we've been paying off.
The government.
Those do have to go out to the voters as well. Revenue bonds.
The revenue.
State revolving fund loan.
That's what we've been utilizing for the last 20 years.
I guess what I'm kind of alluding to is I don't want to trap ourselves into thinking that we can bond everything, because that means the people have to vote yes on it, and we've got smoked the last 3 things that we're trying to get through. So, just something to think about.
Information.
Yep.
Lots of information. That's all I have on that.
Well, one last thing on debt, Butch's comment. With that being said, and that's a concern of the board, then there's another angle, and that is, let's just take the 7 million. If we are committing the fact that we need to do that in 5 years, then we need to start putting a little over $1 million away each year. And nobody wants to say it, but I will. It means raising rates on water, raising rates on the water
And we just
meter.
did.
Raising them. We need to raise them this year anyway, at least at 2.5%. We've said we were going to try to do that. But I mean, that's another way, just rather than waiting 3 or 4 or 5 years, raising the rates and start putting that money away.
Well, that's what I was alluding to.
Yeah,
is
that's-
should we be building ourselves a savings account here, high interest bearing bonds, something like whatever Kerry thinks is right? Because we might not be able to get this up and pass. And yeah, I think the board's direction of thought was that we should be raising rates. Let's give them a year or 2, and then we need to raise those rates every 1 to 3 years. something like
That's
that.
correct.
So that we don't trap ourselves into having
I
high.
thought we were kind of leaning more towards every year we're going to do at least the cost of living,
And that,
at least the cost of
I
living.
don't have a problem with that either.
Devin, your predecessor had a revenue plan for rate increases. Can you find that and send it out to the board again?
I've never been able to locate that.
No,
Because I thought she had
She did.
over all the discussions with the last rate increases, I thought there was a future in 2 years, 3 years, et
No.
cetera, on where we go with that.
there was never anything locked in. No.
But I thought something had been presented to us though, as a formulated plan, which maybe it wasn't accepted, but I know there's some document out there that says,
I don't believe so. And that's something that we talked about it since. And but I don't think we have that in place. And that's one of the things that Devin has been pulling up,
yeah.
that we need to do at least the cost of living.
Like I said, I don't think it was in place, but I thought something had been presented to us. with
I think
a
maybe-
Rejected.
I think it's more the
Revenue
board is thinking of it,
Discussion.
but it never really made it the other way.
Back to Carrie.
Component units / TIF.
Sure.
Okay, those are scattered throughout, not just general fund, they're in general fund, CIT, and transportation. I think the best way, I'm gonna give a couple highlights of the ones that are currently have activity in our financials first.
Carrie, can you back up and let us know what document you're referencing for this?
Absolutely. Did you say,
That document, what?
Yeah.
Or this?
Is it on this?
Page 1?
oh, no.
What issues?
No, I'm on to TIF, is not in my handout at all. That was strictly for Dad,
Okay.
sorry.
There's somewhere we should be in this.
Where should you be on these sheets here?
The tip is on the last 4 pages of this.
Yes, if you go to the very last page that's combined, I think that's the best way.
Very much good.
It has a little X's in front of the fund
I don't have a piece of paper that looks like that.
that we're all, did you print out like all these?
What page?
Okay.
It's up on the screen for anybody that wants
Oh,
to see
good,
it.
yes, it's on the screen. Okay, well, as you're looking at the numbers, I'm gonna remind you that, the oldest active tip that we have is Deerbergs. And when we started that, we committed to 5.5 million in project costs. And at the end of 2024, there was 1.412 balance left. So that project is getting, I'm kind of seeing maybe within the next couple of years, if some of the businesses there continue to do as they're doing now. So that's getting kind of on the last phases. You're also, within your financials, part of that is Arrowhead TIF development. Now, currently, that original approved cost to date on that are 4.935, and with a balance of 4.607 still due. Now, currently, the city is not sharing any sales tax with that project. And this is strictly, the revenue coming from that is coming off of a district. The district, that's
CID.
CID, thank you. The CID district and property tax generated through the county. Those are the only revenue streams that Arrowhead has to date. The third is the Osage Beach OB Commons property, which was approved for 4,550,000, which to date, none of the principal on that has been paid. Some interest has been paid, but none of the principal balance has been lessened on that one to date. So looking at that, that's where all three of these kind of gather up, and on your, when you see Osage Beach at the top, that revenue represents money. Half of that is coming from your general fund, a quarter is coming from your CIT fund, and the last quarter is coming from transportation. So everything on that first line, that's how that flows to that revenue. The county, the city bills the county for their share, their half sales tax, we bill them, and that's what the next line for sales tax county represents. The pilots or the property taxes come through the county as well. CID districts. And we're not collecting anything right now from Miller County Ambulance District. So those are the three main projects, and those are the revenue streams where they come from.
Are we supposed to be collecting anything from Miller County ambulance? I don't.
No, that's a holdover from Pruitt's Point.
Okay.
So why aren't we getting it from Camden County, their own sales tax?
They are cut out because
Oh,
they're a
that's
fire
right.
district. They're exempt.
No, because they passed theirs after we did this.
Well, in Camden County, there is a special law for, I think they can negotiate and opt in, but I think the state law protects fire districts. So you have your revenue at the TIF, you have your expense in general, in the three funds that I mentioned. And then the other little piece that is also a part of this is in your general fund revenue. And we can go to general fund revenue under fees.
Front page.
There you go. That one, yes. Admin fee component units. That money is then coming back in from the TIFs, from Deerbergs, OB Commons, and Arrowhead. Currently, Deerbergs represents 2/3, OB Commons is about 1/3, and today Arrowhead represents 0. And just to remind you what the city does, what that offsets is city costs to handle the monthly billing, annual audit that is, we have to do because we're involved with all of these TIFs, filing of all annual state reports to the state, annual property tax reports that are published, 5-year reports that are required by the city, and this also is part of, I work closely with Cole and the legal department to make sure that we are doing everything that is required of these TIFs. So that's the flow of funds from the TIFs and component units. Anybody has any questions on that?
Carrie, am I correct that moving forward, we requested a third-party tip consultant to do a lot of work that we'd asked to do that?
Correct. Hopefully, when OASIS goes into effect, we will not see additional revenue to general fund, but we also will not absorb a lot of additional labor costs. Yes, that's true.
Here, I have a question for you, and this goes back to some of our discussions last night on personal opinions. So in your personal opinion, going over the numbers the presentation just gave, what are areas of concern we as a board should be working about this year from what you just gave us in the presentation? Is it we are down in specific areas that we should be generating the revenue from? Is it
On the tip,
on anything you just presented? What are areas that are of concern for you?
I feel like my job is to keep the board, full disclosure, keep the board fully informed, educated as much as I can. I'm, you know,
But I'm just curious, guess you're a numbers person, but like, is it, oh, okay, our TIF revenue from this development isn't matching what I thought it would, or,
it really,
Is it really-
honestly, I'm not concerned about that.
okay.
Because, and in this current picture now, when we had Pruitt's Point, we actually had bonds that had City of Osage Beach.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a little more, these, if they don't pay out when they're supposed to, they just end. And the developer is the one that absorbs what's left. So the city, we're just acting as a transfer station, money in, money out. You're not going to be obligated in anything we have to date.
I was just seeing if there's any red flags from your numbers side and all your experience with the city that we should be concerned about.
No, not really.
Okay.
As long as we continue to do a pay-as-you-go
Yeah.
program, that keeps the city very, very, more than comfortable. Very, very low
Protected.
And I was gonna say, the reason I asked my question, and I knew the answer, but I wanted people to know too that they're moving forward as we do these. It's taking a lot of time and a lot of things that Carrie has had to do that now we use the developer money that they can actually be reimbursed from the TIF, but we have third-party specialists, for lack of a better word, that do that clear up her plate, and then we'll be able to just present things without her having to take a lot of time.
And yeah, that's a good point too, that the Oasis is on the horizon. It's a whole different animal situation. There is no budgeted numbers in this current draft budget that reflects anything about the Oasis Lakeport project. So that is to be determined.
Are we ready to move on to reserves? Any other questions for Carrie? So up on the screen, I've put the calculations. I sent this to you guys a couple weeks ago with the draft budget. These are the reserve calculations for fiscal year 26, and these are based off of audit numbers. So these will be the bottom where it says 2026 fund restricted, which fund reserves budgeted. That is what will be reflected in the budget. Our policy reserves are 25% for general and transportation, 16% for water and sewer, and 8% for both airports. Does anybody have any questions about that? Yes.
all of our, all the general reserve requirement has went up.
Correct.
General has went down.
I actually budgeted more in reserves last year than was needed. I can pull up the old one if you want to see it.
Okay, I just noticed across the board that, like I said, that generally it went down. I was like,
A
okay.
little bit it did. I actually put more in reserve last year for general than what was needed for the policy.
The other thing is, and I know I was here when this was established, and I guess my question is, and we're not going to answer it tonight, but are the percentages that we're using, have those ever been revisited?
Have they been one?
Have they been revisited? In other words, the 25% that we use for general, the reasoning behind it, my memory isn't that great. But whatever the reasoning was, the justification, okay, rather than just continuing on, I think periodically we have to revisit this, because just to keep doing things because you keep doing them, philosophy, things change, maybe we did it wrong the first time, maybe we need to adjust them down, maybe, I don't know, I'm just saying, it's not.
I can do some research on that over the next year.
About,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I realize each account's a little different, and
Sure.
again, just something that, like you have some spare time to spend on that.
It'll be after the budget passes, but I can do some research on
I
that.
just think that it's something we should revisit, just to make sure we're still,
I agree with Kevin, but remember, the city did not have a reserve fund
on it.
in place until 4 years ago. So I don't think the percentages are that off key, considering we actually, we passed it 4 years ago and only 7 went aside for us 3, so we can't get that off. But I agree, it's worth looking into again. But I just like the fact that the city even established one 4 years ago.
I'm not saying to eliminate it or anything. I'm
Yeah,
just-
oh no, never eliminated, but I'm happy that we actually have one. And
Yes.
we can actually see the hard numbers, and honestly, that was a smart idea.
Right.
Having her software, and she can do some budget forecasting.
Oh, yeah.
That's
That's software, you
right.
know.
If you didn't notice it, rank number 2. So, all right, we will move on to revenues. If you turn to the last page of your packet, I've kind of tried to summarize revenues, general fund, CIT, and ambulance, so we can, I don't mind going through them line by line. I thought this would be an easier way to look. So on revenues, we'll start with general fund. We are going to be under what I budgeted this year.
Our
So,
budget pool and what section?
so right here, these are general fund revenues. We budgeted 9.9. I'm estimating we're gonna be at 9.8. However, that includes the 1 million that has been billed to Lakeport for Jeffries Road. You take that out of there, it's 8.8 million.
Yeah, that it needs to come out.
Right, and I took it out and I put it in a reserve account. So I'm estimating next year revenues to be 8.8 million. I'm hoping that it will come in more than that, but I'm pretty much flat from this year to next year on general,
Did you go back and look at month by month?
yes. I
I
did,
did, and I come up with the fact that we should put your numbers to work.
Did what?
I said, I went back and looked at month by month from what I could, and then I just, because if I go back to 60, if I go back to 24, and I look, we're a little bit down compared to what we were in 24, but percentage-wise, we picked it back up.
I'm hoping that's true, but I don't wanna overdo it.
Well, keep in mind, this is, what it's worth or not, but this is a rare year where we have
Yes.
14 weekends next summer. I think Labor Day is the very end, is the latest it could be, and Memorial Day's early. So there's 14 weekends, normally it's 13 weekends. We should get an extra pop out.
Interesting. I'll go up and look at, here's what my,
That's straight from the band looking industry. I had to tweak every, like, honestly, so Shootout is a week later than you think. The motorcycle event is a week, Bike Fest is a week later than you think it is.
Right.
So it did kind of screw up my calendar for a week,
So I'm showing projected year end at 5.9 million, a little over 5.9 million. We budgeted 6.5. This will be well under, previous 24 and 23. So next year I only took it up to 6 million on sales tax. I hate to do that, but I don't want to be overzealous in budgeting.
Well, we got hammered by weather this year.
We did, I agree with that. April, May killed us in sales tax.
It was rough, lake wide.
Yes, that's
The
true.
lake itself is down, these are CDD numbers, but it's down about 3.5%.
Yeah.
We're not gonna see sales tax revenue from Macy's till maybe October.
Yeah.
I will say we did, Carrie sent out sales tax for October and it was a record month in August. 677,000.
Yeah, well, so if you just adding all these things together, we've got, an extra weekend, probably not as bad of weather. You'd have an extra, have one more big fishing tournament coming here. The shootout is going to get bigger. Bike Fest is extended one more day next year. I would say it points to us having a little bit of rebound next year.
That's why my numbers go.
But I always.
And I'm not
I'd
saying
rather
I
be
won't
conservative
revisit
anyway,
this,
but-
because I will. I just don't want to be over optimistic.
No, I like the conservative.
So that's general fund. Any other questions on general fund revenue? I'll move on to CIT. Okay. So again, I'm showing that year end, we're gonna end at 3,037,000 in revenue. Budget was almost 3.3 million. So I upped it a little bit for 26 to 3,085,000. We're still on revenue, sorry. Any questions on CIT revenue?
Other than looking at the jump in 2024 actual, budgeted 25. Just comment on numbers.
We just expected a better sales tax year than what we've had. So we haven't met our goal yet. Moving on to transportation. We budgeted a little over 5 million in revenue. We're only at almost 3.9. Again, these are sales tax driven numbers. We did earn a little bit more interest than we budgeted. And also, this is the SS4A grant line item. We probably we'll get maybe 100,000 of that in reimbursement, so the rest of it carried over to 26. So that's another reason there's such a discrepancy between these two numbers. Any questions on transportation? Okay, moving on to water. This is actually up due to utility collection.
Water, sewer, both utilities were.
So we estimated 2.3 million for collection and we're at 2.5, or we're estimating to end at 2.5. So I upped it to 2.6 million for next year.
Is that including any rate change?
No,
When will we address that?
in just a minute, when we're done talking about the rest of the revenues.
We're ready to go, water's here.
Any questions on water? Okay, I'm on the sewer. Again, we're up here, 5.6 million, year end at 6.3. I took it up to 6.7 for next year. And that is mostly based on these utility rates. 3.7 was budgeted, 4.2 is projected year end. So I took it up to 4.4 for 26. Any questions on water or sewer, sorry? Okay. Ambulance,
Back 1 second.
Yep.
On the water and sewer both, we talked about, last year, anyway, we talked about raising some of those fees that we have to do with, construction,
yes,
that would go into some of the impact funds and some of those.
yes.
Is
We're
that-
doing that currently, but with Drew leaving and us having to hire a project manager, we'll pick that back up.
So none
It's
of those numbers are reflected
No.
in here.
correct.
Anticipate within the first or second quarter that we'd be.
I would
rolling that out,
hope by first quarter, we'll make recommendations on that.
and then we could roll in whatever changes we wanted to address, or at least know if we had to address.
Right. Ambulance, we're down, we estimated 946,000, we're at 866,000. I ended up not transferring all of the 465 from general fund because it wasn't needed. Took it down to 375. However, as you can see next year, it goes up to 623,000. So. Again, I think we talked about this before. When it comes down to us, when I'm in this process right now, whatever we budgeted as a transfer or a subsidy from a different fund, if it's not needed, I don't do it. This is a prime example of that. I didn't need the 465 to make ambulance work. So I took it down to 375.
Which funds are collected or billed? Or when do we know of those that we have to write up?
Oh, that's a Carrie question. I don't know about that part.
It's an ongoing, actually, this might be moving target, yeah. This might be, was Todd, it might be just a good time that you ask that.
We are currently, and this rolls in with revenue, we are currently putting the billing services out to bid, and with a possibility of the software being a combo package. Couple things could happen to your revenue. There could be some hiccups in flow because there's gonna be an interruption time. And potentially, maybe we can have more high-tech collections, speedier billing. Hopefully, in the long run, it's an improvement. But you could see some hiccups in next year's cash flow till we get everything ironed out. But it's not good. I mean, the collection, I actually did have a phone conversation with the collection company and what are you seeing? And they said, it's just getting even harder and harder to collect for any kind of medical billing. So I don't have a real good, that's bright light for you on ambulance.
I mean, anything that's not insurance essentially is a negative write-off, right?
Yes.
When the person in charge of our money says it's not good, that's a red flag right there. It's not good.
We do the best
You're a money
we
man.
can. We do the best we can. Everything is out there that can be processed. It's being worked on.
Any other questions on ambulance? Okay, we'll move on to Lacey Fine. We're a little under on this one as well, mostly due to fuel sales.
I wonder, if that tie here, how many of those fuel sales we lost because of the poor fuel.
Well,
That's a part of it, obviously.
it's more than people realize, I'll tell you that. And
Sorry?
it's more than people realize, and that's coming from just a couple of the guys that I know that work out there that have just told me that in passing, that planes literally are not landing or are leaving.
Also note the transfer from transportation, I took it down to 0. It's not needed currently from what I can see. And then next year, revenues are significantly lower because the grant will be, I'm hoping, paid out completely by the end of the year if I can push them. We'll see. They're not very conducive to sending me my money.
Who is that?
Do it,
Who is that?
MoDOT.
As you are making less payments to the individual funds, like ambulance and all of the funds, are you reflecting that back in your projected bottom line at the end of this year?
Correct.
Because that did include those monies going out.
Correct. So the top line of your all funds, the page you're pointing at, includes that being added back into the pot.
So this goes down from 25 to 26, but $4 million because of this grant.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions on Lacey Fine? Okay, last one is Green Glaze. This one doesn't have as much of a discrepancy between budget and projected year end. And then again, the grant will be hopefully fully expended by the end of the year. So the decrease in revenue is on that. Any questions on Green Glaze? Okay, we want to take like a 10-minute break?
Can I just ask one kind of off-the-wall question? So
Sure.
we can take a 10?
Yeah.
Other than ambulance, Lacey 5, the 2 airports, are those the only 3 that basically operate in negative?
Sewer had to be subsidized by CIT.
Okay. That's it, right? Do we know like the hard numbers on, we lost this much on DC 5, this much on Granite Glaze, this much on, and like ambulance were 875,000, right? It's essentially with our negative numbers on that.
Well, basically what you can look at is what I ended up having to transfer. So Grand Glaze, I ended up transferring 195,000. That's to make it balance.
What about DC 5?
Lacey Fine, I don't think I had to do anything. I didn't have to take any of it. We had 320 budget.
So it was
DC 5 is self-sustaining.
It was okay this year, yes, but previous year, this is the first year it ever has been.
Yeah.
23, it was 25,000.
That leads me to believe we're on the right direction.
But if you look at next year, I have to budget 625
Yeah, but hopefully our
for the
sales-
fuel truck.
For fuel, well, yeah, because I get that.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about operations.
Yes.
Okay.
So
And what was ambulance?
Ambulance was 375 for this year, 623 for next year.
I know it's not exciting, but in the city's annual audit, there is, for all of the enterprise funds, there's a line that says operating income or loss.
Okay, where was that at?
In your 24 audit on page 24. Lists all of the enterprise funds, and about halfway down, there's a line that shows your.
Okay, prepared, Terry.
All right.
What's the line item again? Operating?
Operating income and then losses in parentheses. But all of your enterprise funds are at some level in parentheses.
Here, what page is that?
24.
Page 24.
I mean, I would expect that.
Yeah, yes,
on our
yes.
website.
But just a different way of looking at it from,
Right.
instead of trying to analyze transfers,
Right.
you can look at this.
If you look at it from that perspective, every department loses money.
Well,
That's pretty general statement.
Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, IT, we spend more money in IT than what revenue they bring in. We spend more money in police, we spend more money in inspection. I mean, we're here to provide service. We're not here to make a profit on it. I mean, that's what we're here. So we're not gonna make profit on those things and they're not, and their services we're providing, we're not gonna make money to break even with. I mean, it's.
Police doesn't generate revenue, IT does not generate.
Right. Well, police do.
Fine, yeah.
Police do. They generate revenue. You know, I mean, so it's a service we're providing, so.
I don't consider
That's right, I
an
didn't say
airport
that.
as a utilization
I thought-
of service. I consider it to be a luxury.
Well, that's the difference, I guess.
Okay, moving on. Everyone want to take a break?
Yes.
How about, we'll come back at 20 after?
Sure.
Sure. All right, so everybody, thanks. Everybody ready to start again? All right, here we go. Deputy Lakers.
I'm gonna turn it over to Jeff. We're gonna talk about utility revenues.
We in general fund.
I speak specifically of rates.
Yes.
My experience with that. I did get a chance this week a little bit to look back through 2016, and I'm sure there was good rationale for each year's adjustments. It's very inconsistent, so it caught my attention. There were increases in volume, different from increases in base rates. Well, I think it was the last 2 years, increase in base rates and not in volume. And I'm not sure in individual classes if any adjustments were made differently. I haven't spit down stuff yet. First most important thing is you're gonna have a 5-year CIP. That helps in determining your rates, because as you were speaking earlier about the water tower, if you know 3 years from now, or 2 years from now, or 5 years from now, you've got to invest in infrastructure, and you're doing rate studies that are looking at least 5 years, and the rate, the folks that are doing the rate study are going to build that in and make recommendations on what those rates need, how they need to be adjusted each year for 5 years. And in what classes to adjust rates, or to whether or not to adjust your base rate versus your volume, and what to adjust. Those are decisions you get to make. And that firm, that company that does this, will present different things to you, let you make those policy decisions. And I'll say on the base rate, for example, base rate, you may know this, and this probably was accounted for. I just haven't seen the logic behind it. Is base rate is to keep your lights on. That's your fixed costs. And different organizations will take slightly different approaches to that. Some will build in personnel costs or a portion of that, and some don't. But it's essentially those fixed costs that are there every year. Doesn't include capital, doesn't include some O&M, those kinds of things. So those are things that a rate study will take into account and all your capital improvement needs. And we'll project those out multiple years and then make recommendations to you. And then it is best practice to adopt those rates at least 3 years out. And that doesn't mean that a future board is committed to that. It just means this is our intention, public, the business community, residents, this is our intention over the next 3 years or 5 years. And every year when you go through this process, you can take a look at that again and adjust it if you need to. If things have changed, or you just keep it the same. So you always have that right as an elected body to review that annually and reconsider rate adjustments. But it gives the community predictability, and that's big. Because we know how it feels when property taxes go up each year. We don't know until it happens, right? And it always stinks. But why do the same with user rates if you don't have to? Give them predictability. So that's one thing I want to strongly encourage. And you should do a rate study periodically. You should have a third party, the same reason that you have a third party do your tips, or a third party do your compensation studies, or other things that I've heard this board mention since I've been here. You should have a third party do this. It's serious business. And it's complicated because, as Alderman Rucker asked about the fee schedule, you can also have them look at fee schedule and benchmark that against other communities. And staff can do that. But it doesn't hurt periodically to have a third party look at these things and make recommendations. And then if you do rate studies, I would say at least every 3 years, year and 4, staff can update those models in between. We just need a firm that's experts in this, that can be great at this kind of thing, set it up, and then every 3 or 4 years they update it and in between staff updates or revisits. So that's best practice in this industry. And make sure you do have the right revenues and considering the CIT, which not every community has, I'd say it's uncommon. They can account for that too, and that's another policy decision that the board can make is, okay, these are the rates that are necessary to cover costs of O&M and capital improvements for the next 5 years. And we have the CIT, so we can use that CIT to help us manage rates, to affect rates, right? That's a decision the board can make. And so I would strongly encourage giving the city administrator authority to do that early this next year. And then we can revisit and we report back to the board, of course, and have those discussions and then adopt rates multiple years out. So you know you have the revenues based on your CIP, based on projections, and then revisit it every year.
Jeff, I'll just say that one of the prevailing theories was to keep the base higher because we have so many part-time people that they own places down here, but they're not down here very much, so they're not using as much volume. Just kind of wanted to have them share and kitty a little more.
That's what I mean. I'm sure there was good rationale for these decisions. I just moved over to background was. The important thing is to be consistent as you can year in and year out with that philosophy. And you should never have a flat, if you were to go back to 2016 and graph the increases, it would do this. Well, you shouldn't have that. You should have a very smooth curve that's predictable into the community.
The other thing that we have to understand, nothing we can do about it. We tried to, and hopefully I shouldn't say there's nothing. We have tried to do something, and I think we are making progress, and that is that one of the things that very much affects rates is the, as far as I'm concerned, as far as the inadequate public works department we have had over the last number of years. We have suffered, and we have not done a good job. And I say we, I'm not complaining just at them. We as a board have not done a good job in supporting that and getting it good and staffed. And we just had problems, we've struggled with that. And where that has impacted the rates is the fact that we haven't been able to maintain the system because we've struggled with that department over there. And so I think in the last number of years, we've realized that. We've tried to put some energy and funding towards that, and getting some programs and some people and making the turn, and it's gotten better and it's making some improvements, and hopefully we can keep that to where our rates, because a number of years, 2 years ago, our sewer took a big hit because we had a lot of money because we hadn't been maintaining it. And so that's something that, as we look at the rates over the last short number of years, that's affected that.
That's a good point. You absolutely can't afford the kind of turnover this organization's had in other words recent past. But one thing I didn't mention is also in the rate study, as was discussed earlier, the question is, do you cash fund or bond fund big capital improvements? Well, it's hard to know that unless you do a lot of sophisticated math, right? And that firm would be able to make recommendations on that. If you're trying to cash flow a project that's cost you $7 million in 3 years or even 5 years, like you said, you're probably looking at big rate increases, but that might not be necessary if you don't. It's likely not to be.
But if the big word, if we'd had this in place, and hopefully the next 7 or $10 million that we need for a tower, we would be able to not have to borrow because we'd be able to have a rate increase that would give us that ahead. Because we're planning for 10, 12 years down the road.
Yeah, if you'd had your 5-year CIP 5 years ago, you already have a good time.
So are we already Do we list rates to the, or is this, are you proposing this?
Proposing that in this 2026 budget.
Yeah. Is there a total on it?
100,000.
I don't think
For water
it's
and
that much, but we don't-
Does that come out half of that, out of water, half?
Correct. So what are your all's thoughts on increasing utility rates by 2 to 3% for this year?
I think that we definitely need to do that. We know our rate study's gonna, I mean, we're not 100% sure, but I feel 99% sure that, you know, we've got to keep up with what we've been doing. And we actually need more, I'm sure, but we don't need to let it get behind.
When was the last time we raised it?
February.
February.
Yeah.
But that was the first rate increase in 5 years, correct?
I don't know.
You did increases the last 3 years in base. And it was
Minimal. This
substantial.
year was the
But
first
they're
time we did
minimal.
something aggressive.
It was
There's
substantial.
a lot of,
It was more aggressive on the residents not within the city limits proper.
Yes.
They took the hardest hit on the rate increases.
My questionable would be to keep you in that 2 to 4% every year, right? And that's the other benefit is like, when you're working with a rate consultant, and you say, this, we want to stay at 2 to 4% as a goal. Then, okay, well, this is what you're spending, that would need to be for that 5 years too, you cap it for now. So it gives you some guidance points.
I think we'll get some pushback on the rate increase. I'm all for it. But considering how aggressive we were on this slight increase, because we had to, because the requirements were not self-sustaining. And we jumped, some of them 30%.
I would
I mean,
recommend,
it was some crazy numbers
Yeah.
we had increased.
I would recommend we do 2.5% this year, do the rate study to see what it says.
2.5.
Last thing I'll mention is just we're doing the leak surveys. That's a big deal. It's going to catch, because you were at 30% water loss. And I don't know that you can say all of it was physical water loss, because you just updated all the meters too, which is administrative loss, right? So if those things are more accurate, which I know they are, you're going to reduce that already, because they're going to be more accurate. And then we go out there and we catch these leaks, we fix them, and then reduce the physical loss. If you get it down to under 10%, that'll help too in reduce managing rates on these.
I just think the public will swallow the bill pretty easy at 2.5% person.
Yeah, we need it each year.
Okay, Jeff and I will do research and be able to bring harder numbers back after we can do our calculations on that.
As far as the rate study, if you're gonna go ahead and move forward.
Yeah, we'll move ahead with the 2.5%, but I want to bring numbers back to you so you understand what that's getting us.
Right.
And then we're requesting the rate study in this year's budget in
So
2026.
we're looking at 2.5% across the board for all residents and commercial? Or were they going to be tiered, like we've done in the last previous rate increases, where it was tiered on commercial versus residential versus city limits, non-city limits?
I would just do 2.5%
Straight across the board.
To clarify, because all of our last rate increases have been staggered based on those criteria.
Yeah, but we can at least sell it to the public for a year. Hey, we kept as low as we can, we're doing all these studies.
About the cost of living suggestions, that's what CPI is at right about now.
I'll just ask, is that volume and base, or just volume, or just base?
Base.
I will just say, the more you tag on the base, the more aggressive it becomes. So they don't make as much money, if they have to pay everybody when they control those.
Yeah.
Certain thing.
We're not passing on to any of the part-timers if we do volume. And Osage Beach is, we need to look.
We're 80% secondary home residents for the city of West Beach. So if we do it on volume, basically we're taking nothing off the second home residents, which are literally 80% of our population.
And most of the locals that live here that complain to me, they complain that we didn't make 2.5% to 4% raises over the past decade and hit them hard with 30% bumps. I don't think anyone.
We'll do the calculations and bring that back so you guys know what the monetary implication is. Okay, let's move on to individual funds. On your last page of your packet, I have tried to make a summary to hopefully make this easier for you guys. So starting with 1001, the major difference, I've broke out personnel on the right-hand side. And so the personnel implications just in general fund is $544,000, which is 88%. Second page here,
Oh, okay.
down at the bottom,
Okay.
general fund. And yes, that will decrease now that we're taking the 1%.
Second page of the budget to hand.
Second page, this page right here.
At the very
I don't
bottom
know.
line,
Right here.
at the very bottom of the
What's
piece
your
of paper, it's the 544, 331.
Yeah.
Second column,
Well, I don't
right.
have it right there.
So
That's what it was originally.
at the end of the day, general fund, personnel increases, this will go down now that we've taken the merit or the retirement away. But as it stands right now, it's $544,331 in personnel cost increase in general fund. Yes.
One quick question for you. Let's go back to health insurance.
Yes.
We were proposing, as per the handout, a 5% increase for 2026 in health insurance.
Correct.
But the numbers are greater than 5% on the budget.
So if there's an
The
opening in that
numbers
department,
are used.
we automatically take it to the most expensive option that we offer. Because if there's a vacant position, we don't know what they're gonna choose on their elections. So we automatically take it to the highest option on all insurances. That's why there's more than
Because I was
5%.
just looking at the 2025 budget, the 5% increase being proposed.
Right.
That's.
Yeah, that, we do it per person.
Over 5.
You're only doing a 5% on 6 months, so you shouldn't do it on 12.
No, I didn't. I did 5%
Save
across
us
the
some
board.
money.
Good job, Alderman Rucker.
Why
I
is
did
it
not
only
do-
on 6 months?
Because our premium, our rate doesn't change until halfway through the year.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, when is open
They
enrollment?
based it on January rate increase and it won't be
Open
until
enrollment's
July
in May.
rate increase,
So,
Effective July 1st.
effective July 1.
That's right. Good call.
Okay, so that will take even more off. Thank you. Hold on, I'm making myself a note.
Make the budget balance the rest of the year.
So do it as I should.
Okay, so again, not accurate anymore now that we've talked about this, but 544.
Yeah, that software probably would have.
you're right. I would have.
You've already got it, you can give up now.
There better not be any mistakes next year is what I keep
Oh,
hearing.
yeah, I'm never gonna live this
Yeah,
down.
I'm gonna.
A year from now,
Yes.
I never. That is true. Okay. So if you go over to the difference column, the difference between fiscal year 25 budget and fiscal year 26 budget was 616,000. 544 of that is personnel. The rest of it is the ambulance subsidy. So overall, general fund has actually decreased in budget other than in personnel. But we can go through these line item by line item or fund by fund. Start with 1001, Mayor and Board of Aldermen. The only difference other than personnel is I added $10,000 in there for strategic planning next year. The rest of it is static other than personnel costs.
Can I just throw something out really?
Sure.
So strategic plan?
Yeah.
I like where we had it, but I think we should try to find somewhere in this postage. Just a thought.
It was too expensive.
Yeah.
It was way expensive.
no, it was keeping.
No, I
it in
want
the
to say
city.
expensive, I just like to do it inside our city.
It was in the city of
Spend the
St.
money
Beach
inside the
versus the
city.
city of Glen Creek.
Yeah, I get that, but what I'm telling you is every location I found was a lot more expensive.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I thought you meant it was two.
No. It was more expensive to go out. We got probably 3 or 4 different bids from different places, and that was the cheapest one.
Was there a local?
Yep,
Yes.
and she was really expensive.
That's cool. Get some insight.
Okay.
Well, another thing, they have to have food, or they have to allow you to bring in food. So that was another issue. You either bought their food or you could bring in food. This one that down at the winery was all in, and
I stop by and look at those bids.
yeah, they just emailed them. I'll see if I can find the emails. I didn't do an official bid.
Yeah.
Because
I
it's-
mean, sure, if we're gonna get screwed up, like, I guess it's fine, but
there's not a whole lot of places to have.
no, there's
the
not,
yachts.
you're right about that.
I mean, Well-
The gist of it was, we had preferred to live in the city of Osage Beach as opposed to Glen Creek, but I get it.
right, yeah.
Not
Yeah,
cost
yeah.
effective.
Yeah, it
That's all you
wasn't.
gotta
I mean,
say.
we tried another one and they were,
We can always bid it again.
we can
Every-
try, I mean, I
every
can
year.
definitely find
Yeah.
something to look, but
Who knows?
I get you want to stay in Osage Beach. I tried.
No, I didn't realize it was that drastic, but it was something that was brought up.
I'm surprised that the Yaks wasn't lucrative.
Well, we didn't try the Elks.
Didn't try them.
We can try. I mean,
Discussion for later. Tom.
Yeah.
Well,
sorry.
I'll look into it.
On the
They're
training.
interested.
Yes.
You move on. You threw 10,000 in there for,
Strategic plan.
did you lower the expenses for MML?
Tara, did you lower the expenses for him?
Because we won't be having a hotel.
I believe I did. Let me
Okay.
find it. You check.
We can make a note of that.
Yeah, let me look into that, but that's a great point.
I'll take advantage of the fact that you're here.
Yeah, I did. Training.
Any other questions on mayor and board fund? Okay. Moving on to the collector, the only increase here was, in case we want to license VRBOs, we increased that to another $750.
Is that what that's for? Because I would say we've never increased the rate that we pay the collector.
Now it's per license, and Tara,
Yeah, so I've had some aldermen come and we're gonna bring they wanna bring an ordinance or discussion about licensing VRBOs or short-term rentals. The collector gets 75 cents per license that we spend. So I'm guessing at a rough, there's about 1,000 short-term rentals that I can find right now that are in Osage Beach proper. So if that's a good case, they all license, I need to pay the collector $750. So that's why we did it.
I'll just throw this out there, that that's part of a bigger plan that's out there to help bring back the lodging and tourism tax. That's one of the things that will help do that.
Well, that's the first step we gotta do. If we have that in place, then we are good to go and it does finally come down and through.
Yeah.
Where I'm even looking at a great software that points it out for me.
Yay.
It tells me where everyone is.
Our software,
Well, it goes with OmniaGov with her budget.
Or
It's the
software.
same, see, hey, it makes, work smarter, not harder.
That's right.
okay, moving on to city administrator, only increase here is in personnel. O&M went down and a couple of operating capital items were added, but overall, the only add was personnel.
So the personnel budget, so the personnel numbers, those are based on full staff, all positions, correct?
Correct,
And does that include any merit increases, any,
yes,
that includes everything we discussed?
yes. But again, it'll take off 1% because we're getting rid of the retirement
Okay,
and the 6 months of health insurance.
okay.
And 0.5% on the merit. No, it won't, that won't matter because it offset. We increased the premium and offset it in the merit.
So
Yes,
in general, every department is over budget on personnel.
correct.
Is that because of the extra payday that I found that we
Yes.
didn't budget?
Yes, it is. Also, the other thing that we did not do, which I corrected this year, is we calculated, so last year we did a 2.5% premium, and let's just hypothetically say you got a 4% merit. That's 6.5%. We took their base salary times 6.5% to arrive at their salary for 25. It's actually stacked. So you receive your 2.5% first, effective on January 1, and then you stack the 4% on top of it. And so there is a little bit of difference. And so I corrected that this year and did the calculation twice to correct that. So it's twofold. One, because there was an extra pay period. Two, because I didn't stack the percentages that were given. Any other questions on city administrator? Okay, City clerk. Most of this, again, is in personnel, but there were a few things. Code codification, $2,000. Tara wants to attend a laserfish. Ron, you're gonna have to say it for me.
Laserfish.
Training. She wants a document folder and postage and office supplies increased. If you have any questions on that, she'd be happy to answer those. Okay. Any questions? Move on to city treasurer. Other than personnel increases, it was an increase in financial services line item, which is the line item that we pay the audit out of.
Carrie, $5,000 for credit card fees, is that the fees that it cost us for water and sewer collection when people pay credit card?
No. I think that's some of our software, because the customers are paying their own fees now.
I knew there was both fees.
But it passes through, you know,
So
we have
what's
a
the
revenue
5,000?
line item and an expense line item.
It's washed with the revenue side, so it's a wash.
Okay, well, my concern is that it was a wash, but is some of that when somebody pays their water and sewer bill?
No,
So
that,
should-
that hits Fund 30 and 35.
So I'm just making sure that where's the revenue? Is the revenue side of this all in general, or shouldn't some of the
It's-
revenue be in water and sewer?
It's split.
If it's split, then some of this fee, we shouldn't be charging all the fee to general, we should be charging some of the fee to
We
water
are.
and sewer.
We are.
It's spread out.
So the,
General fund is only permits, license.
okay, so the revenue, the expenditure side, is there some in water and sewer too?
Correct.
Okay.
I think some of the increase also in 25 was the first time we have a fee-based banking services contract. And so that hit in 25 for the first time, and I think I missed that in the budget process for 25. So that's about 5,000 a year.
Any other questions on treasurer? Okay, moving on to municipal court. She's requesting a courtroom printer, and then postage memberships and training and conferences increased minimally. Any questions about municipal court? City attorney, the only increase here was personnel.
Is the personnel our secondary attorney?
No, just for merit and
Oh,
premium and health insurance and all of that.
Special service under the attorney.
That's for his special prosecutor.
Is that discretionary 10,000 or
36.
Yeah, that's his special prosecutor.
That's why I was concerned, I didn't think, so we spent all of that last year?
No, we were budgeting at 33.7 for last year, but he got that prosecutor mid-year, I believe. It wasn't approved
That's
until
why I didn't-
February or March, something like that.
I thought, that's a lot of money, more than I expected we should be spending. That's why I'm concerned, I didn't realize we were spending that much.
I think it's,
600
I don't remember what it is.
Well, I was hoping our cases would go down to the fact that you would be able to get back into doing some of that.
Well, but I'll also say that I'm sure he can defend himself as I'm sure he could defend himself if he was here, but with all of our TIFs, I mean, he's spent tons of time on the TIFs and he did.
I mean, I have a feeling at some point that department is going to have a person to take that. I think it's just buying his time.
We had litigations and
Any other questions on city attorney? Okay, building inspection. The new laptops and mounts that were ranked, or not ranked, they were talked about yesterday is part of the increase. He's putting in for the building inspectors to obtain their certifications or a certification. And then he's requesting that his department secretary be reclassified to administrative assistant, which is an addition of 4881 in personnel. If you have any questions, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer.
Are you gonna just up that person to administrative assistant, and are you adding the secretary too, or?
No. My secretary's last day is tomorrow. So this will be the third secretary that I've had in the last 18 months. And we're talking about employee retention, and we've definitely got an issue in this department. Back when this position was originated, there was just the building inspection department. Since I've been here, we've taken in building maintenance. So we've got more staff. I do all of the contracts for the HVAC maintenance, the grounds maintenance, the maintenance of this building, and she is my front person on all of that, he or she, whoever comes next. So it's definitely a larger workload, and I want somebody who could be a permit tech, something that Devin and I had discussed in this profession, having a secretary who can look over blueprints, make sure you're submitting what you need to be submitting, look over applications, make sure you've got everything filled out. You've got to have an understanding of the construction industry and the processes that we go through. So, look, I did research on the position for permit technician. The average salary as of July of this year for the nation was $50,000, and that's starting out. And then I looked up different applications around the country, including Oklahoma, Illinois, even Pacific, Missouri, to see what everybody's at. They're starting out at $49,000 a year for permit tech, which is going to be different than just department secretary. So definitely want to add more responsibilities and seeing what's coming on the forefront of making this adjustment. I think will help us not only attract but retain quality staff in that position.
Will this position turn over 3 times in 18 months?
Yes, all for better jobs.
Clearly something needs to change. We continue that process.
Wow. There is also a certification for a permit tech through the International Code Council. So they can get training to learn blueprint reading and inspections and all that stuff. Any other questions on building inspection? Okay, building maintenance. All of those line items are listed on the sheet from yesterday, except for the conference room chairs. Those were only 2,000, so they weren't included. But all the others were listed. And he has actually removed the part-time custodian position from this. From what? Where did it go?
The previous was building maintenance. We have a part-time building maintenance, but now with our new custodial or janitorial custodian, I can't remember the official title. Anyway, Mike is doing a fantastic job, as I'm sure the people around this table can attest, but he is more than capable as far as cleaning the building, stocking supplies, and taking on maintenance projects. So we haven't had an issue with one since he's been here. Well, I mean, he didn't cause the damage to this HVAC unit. He sure was instrumental in shutting it down.
Is there, I don't know if this is the right time or not, but didn't we last year discuss changing the section where staff sits approaching the dais? Did we give up on that?
We did talk about it as far as putting in different tables. We would have to do like the training tables that they have in the police department. Doesn't give you a lot of room to have paperwork. Our primary option would be to move this false wall back. But the problem there is this is a post-tension concrete slab and it's got holes drilled in for the electricity and for the communications. So we'd have to do all new carpet. It would be a pretty big undertaking. It's definitely something I can research and get a bid on for next year. If you guys are interested in that.
Well, I just feel like you guys are not really sitting where you want to sit. Am I wrong on that?
No, you're not wrong. We'd rather face you so that we don't have to turn away from the mics and hold these mics. It would be a lot more convenient.
Well, I think it's something that needs to be pitched. I don't know if it's this year, next year, or what.
Soft bid perhaps?
Or
Get a soft bid on it? Get us a more general idea on cost?
Nice.
After an RFP or RFQ, just get some feelers out, get some estimates.
Absolutely.
Any other questions on building maintenance? Okay. Parks and Recreation. The dog park restroom, the electrical upgrades at City Park, the batting cage, 10 picnic tables, and the flagpole made the cut for this year. Any questions on that? Sure.
So the bathroom, I know you and I already talked about this, but can you just kind of tell us where it's gonna be? Is it, who all is gonna serve down there?
Well,
Is it just for the dog park, or is it close enough to the soccer field too?
in theory, it's sort of a little park. I mean, if you're driving by or walking by, you're certainly, but utilities, the sewer line and everything, basically you turn in, for those of you that are familiar with the dog park, you turn into the parking lot. You go to the back of the parking lot, it'll probably be right there, you know, and we will allow, we may offset it to the left just in case we want to put some kind of seating area or any improvements in the future. So that's generally where but we're open to suggestions if anybody else has. I think talking to the water and sewer department will be the easiest to look into, because the water lines are right there from that cross freeze, and then unfortunately it will require trenching the back of the dog park down to the maintenance shop and tie into the figured out. Yeah. But sewer department's fantastic. They didn't see any problems. Announce.
Eric,
Yes.
not to bring up a sore subject, but am I correct that the reason we can do this for only 85,000 is because we've already ran the lines for the addition to the bathroom at the Public Works restroom?
Behind the maintenance shop, yes.
But because we already ran the main lines, that's why this is only 85,000.
Because the grinder station is back there, yes, that was a significant part of the
So when
price.
that big fee came in last year, that seemed to be a big uproar. Now we're able to utilize some of the extra expenses.
Yes.
Yeah, we sold it that way too. I don't know if anybody cared, but
Yeah,
you know, that was the plan, so that we could build more stuff.
Still very good.
This, if I didn't go into detail, this will be a precast bathroom. It's a company CXT bathroom. I had experience with these in state parks, very popular. It's a whole, basically ready to go. We have the site ready, we have the utilities ready. They bring it in on a truck, and they have a crane, which is part of the cost. They set it in place, you have it hooked up in less than a day, good to go.
Good stuff.
Any other questions on the Parks Department? Okay, move on to HR. We added $22,600 for the job class compensation study, took it up to 32.6 based on the bids that were received. We increased education reimbursement by $5,000, and employee programs and development increased by $10,000. Any questions on that?
So the human resource study is gonna be 50,000 to do?
32.6.
32.
I took it up.
6 a year.
Do it. 22.6, that's the increase on what it was based on last year. Last year was 10,000 budgeted, so we added
In the budget
22.6.
for 32.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Any questions on HR? Just as a reminder, we absorbed all of 1013 into other funds last year, so that is a completely blank budget. It's all been absorbed in other departments. Police department. The additions here were the $10,000 Dogwood Animal Shelter contract, 14 laptop replacements, evidence refrigerator, all 7 vehicles, and the drone.
No, I guess I might well. I was just a little surprised at how this unfolded based on yesterday's votes or ranking system, that the Interceptor and the drone made it in, and the Punic Park Pavilion didn't. So I don't know. You said that the Interceptor was more important than the drone to you, though, correct?
Correct. And I've been talking to Ken from Enterprise Leasing Union, so I've got some preliminary numbers where this year, if we would do versus the 455,000 if we bought the cars outright with the equipment and so and such. With the first year of the Enterprise Leasing, we could do all 7 cars and our equipment for 131,860. Getting roughly 15,500 back from the sale of the fleet that we have now. And then that I've got numbers up to year 5 with the equity built in of the numbers of the cars that we would have. So in year 1, we would have 7 vehicles. Roughly, we would spend 131,860 set up. In year 2, we would get 5 more vehicles, and we would be paying approximately $126,756 that year total. And it kind of goes up and down depending on how many cars we are getting, but like year 3, we would replace 3 vehicles, year 4, 1 vehicle, year 5, or year 5, 5 vehicles. Then year 6, we start back with 7, 5, 3, and go and rotate that out we're replacing cars basically every 4 years. And the first year, the equity that we would get back, 15.5 for our cars. All 6 of those we would be getting rid of are 10 years old with the line, 100,000 miles plus on them. Year 2, a little better, we get 48.6. Year 3, 53,250. Year 4, 23,400. Some of the older cars again. And then year 5, we're looking at 120,000 in equity that we can get back and deduct off of the annual lease bill or the equipment. As we go along, we won't have to replace equipment every year because we can take the equipment and swap it from the old car to the new car. So this is just preliminary numbers that he worked up, kind of on about a 3-day notice. And I think he's going to be doing the same thing for streets and parks. And
Did we ever get feedback from Columbia Capital on reviewing the Enterprise?
I have followed up with him 3 times and have not heard back from him. So I will reach out to him again. We were trying to wait until after, well, he was volunteering to do it for free. But we were trying to wait until the court situation was figured out and done, and then he could move on to this. But that's taken longer than anticipated. I can follow up with him again. If this Enterprise thing is something that you guys would like to explore again, we'll be happy to do that.
I'm going to speak on behalf of the board here. We as a board were never 100% sold on doing the enterprise leasing for the entire fleet of the city.
Sure.
I think though there were some caveats that, you know what, we'd be willing to do a trial run for a specific department. Police department being, maybe let's throw them a bone and see how that works out before we go citywide.
Okay.
So it was never 100% approved, but it was never 100% off the table either, because I think some of the concerns, we said, okay, well, let's do a temporary for a specific department. So therefore we can see how that goes. Plus what was told to us is that we were under no long-term obligation if we wanted to rescind that contract with them and go back to purchasing and owning vehicles.
That's correct.
So we thought, okay, let's just do a trial run with the police department. So it's something that we had talked about, and we had all agreed, hey, well, we're on board with a trial run for that specific department, but it basically has sat dormant all this time now,
Sure.
waiting on third parties to give us their feedback.
We're all not on board.
Well, I'm saying, not all on board, but
Not all board is on board with what you said.
all but one. Clarify.
Don't say all the board when I'm not.
I said,
I'm on board with
okay,
the
all the board
enterprise.
except for one, so
You did
that's
say
good.
he's speaking for the majority of the board. Is
That would be a
so-
better statement. I'm on board with the enterprising system, but we buy it rather than leasing from the enterprise. That's what I'm on board with.
Well, we can do some further research.
I've got a follow-up meeting with them on the 20th if anybody has any questions or wants to come in. Sure.
So if he's gonna put something together that I would like to see, because he's mentioned before, as he puts his stuff together, he can put a program together where we lease them or we buy them outright.
I would like to attend if you would send me the details. I'd like to, thank you.
I
I
will,
wasn't here for that discussion, so.
I know Jeff is probably having a little more.
Yeah, I was curious, why people buying land so that
Because I did that way, and it was profitable and I made money doing it that way. That's the way I did my fleet. I didn't have to, I didn't lease them. I bought them, just used their system.
I
Sold
think-
them at the right time, bought them low, sold them high.
I think the benefit of the leasing, the equity lease, these guys know, or Enterprise knows, or never right now, knows when the best time is to sell these cars and get rid of them and get the best money out of them versus, running, like, we're getting rid of 7. The plan is to get rid of 6 cars this year. And we're getting $15,000 from them if we get lucky. Because they'll run harder.
Yeah,
They got 100,000, over 100,000 miles on them, but they've got probably twice that engine hours, because they're,
Yeah, and I'll say this for probably the seventh time. Police department was not trained or were not expected to spend their time trying to buy and sell cars. Neither was public works director, neither was any other department. They were trained in the departments, and the time they take trying to get the most money they can out of a used car is taken away from what they should be doing for the city.
So if I could go back to where I was kind of originally going with that, have had some talks with Chief and with Jeff about this. Because Chief had got a little bit warm, and some of this is because I talked to Camden County, Miller County, and they were trying to get out. Is that correct? So it wasn't that, every police force jumped in and they all thought it was great. Some of them were trying to get out. So there is something there that we need to identify now. Jeff basically said, look, it's as good as the person managing. We haven't had someone we thought could do that. If Jeff and you combined feel confident in it, gives me a little more reassurance we can go that direction.
I think with, like, the sheriff's department versus a municipal police department, they're putting miles and miles and miles on cars a shift versus, we average 100, 125 on a busy night, where it takes them 125 miles to get clear across the county.
but again, county government, the governance is different than elected commissioner and elected sheriff. And it's very common for an elected person, to come in and not want to do what they're trying to do regardless of what they see. That is just the way it works. So, I know Ken, working with counties, much more challenging than working with cities, responsibility. And you can do these programs long term. And I'll just finish. My personal opinion, we can't be great. There's a privatized alternative, which is considered private. Give it to the private sector, let them do what they're great at, it benefits the city, it's a no-brainer.
Well, I like that. I'm trying to take it one step further and find a way to save the pavilion at Peanut Park. If we can find some money there and we can flip the drone out of it and because we went pretty far with this plan over there at the park, and now all of a sudden we're losing the pavilion, which was really the beginning of that expansion over there. Not to mention the pavilion generates revenue.
so I'll be happy to add the pavilion back in. He is applying for the LWCF grant, which would be 50% back if we got the grant.
Yes.
So I'll be happy to add it in.
right now it's not budgeted. I thought that was kind of I was really surprised to see that one not
Well,
budgeted. So,
to piggyback on what you say, I agree. Because we do want to do a lot of things to our tourists, but this is one thing that focuses on us
100%.
on our citizens. And so that part is very important to me as well.
And it's the first step to get to our splash pad and everything else. So,
I'd like to add, the $100,000 there, that was an estimate on my part. Our architectural company, the contract wasn't complete yet, so we're waiting on that. That should provide designs, but we weren't that close yet. So there's a good chance it's much less than $100,000. That was just a number that we needed for budgeting purposes. Also, $10,000 we figured for design for prototyping, so 110 is what we put on the budget. Pretty confident it'll be less than that. I do want to point out though, we will apply for a WCF grant. If the board chooses to go forward with the pavilion, but I don't want to hang our hat on that. So last year it didn't happen. Now, last year we were applying for $500,000 and we did it. And I'm optimistic we did it.
I mean, I would like to look at it as if we get the grant, maybe that's where we get the money to pick up the drone.
The other part of this is the 131,860 on the first year of the lease would probably go down at least 3 or 4 months, because if we order the cars in January, we still may not get them. We won't start making payments, monthly payments, until we actually receive the cars. So if we don't get them until March or April, there's
You guys can, say you can make it work, and it's gonna work for you guys, and it's gonna save us still money, we can get a billion out of it, I'm all for it.
One last thing on Enterprise, I did have a Zoom call with the sales rep this morning, and parks is small potatoes as far as vehicles compared to our other departments, and we don't put as many miles on them. And right now, every 3 years, we may have 20 to 30,000 miles simply because we're traveling back and forth to Phoenix, or we're using for training, or we haul equipment, or whatever. So he said that our department is perfect for the leasing program. We would premium on our trucks by trading in them every 3 years. So
Well, I got more on board after talking to Jeff, I didn't know, because I never thought about it like that. The program is only as good as our people manage it, and I never really looked at it like that. None of us have experience, he's really the only one who does. So.
Yeah. We will do research on Enterprise. I will add the pavilion back in, and we'll see that reflected in the next draft. All right. Moving on to 911. Just want to show that the majority of the dispatch relocation is moved over to fiscal year 26. We only have 100,000 budgeted to spend out of that this year. And then he added in some additional funds for uniforms for the dispatchers. The rest of the changes, personnel.
Talking about personnel there, we're not fully staffed. So I'm assuming our overtime was budgeted at 45,000, jumped to 65 because of still not full staff. And we're needing that overtime, and I understand it. So that tells me that in 2026, I think we're budgeting wrong, because you are budgeting overtime as if you are not fully staffed, because you're carrying 65,000 for overtime, but you're also budgeting salaries at full staff.
correct.
So if you're at full staff, you're not gonna need that 65,000 for overtime. And so my philosophy has been with budgeting in positions like that, is you budget for full-time, for your full staff, which let's say in this situation was 503,000 this year. And then you budget for the fact that you have scheduled overtime. We know that we have scheduled overtime, even if we're at full staff, because of the requirements of the position. And that's your 43. So that's what you should be budgeting. And then when you're not at full staff, your 503,000 goes down, as it did here, it went down to 340, but your overtime went up because you had to have overtime people come in, but the two balanced out and you end up with not spending more than what you had combined. You are over budgeting for 2026. See where I'm talking,
I see what you're saying.
so we could probably pick up $20,000 off of that. Make sense?
Yes.
Somebody did do his homework.
Done this whole lot.
We will take a look at that. Any other questions on 911?
I just like, do we know like a target date for it being completed?
They said the end of March.
I think I asked them. It just seems kind of aggressive, but
Once the walls go up, and that's the biggest part downstairs. Once the walls go up, they can start doing everything. It's actually getting it started. There will be a little bit of night work we talked about because they don't want to jackhammer the concrete that's downstairs during business hours. The people who run City Hall South don't like it.
well, that's a good idea.
That's understandable.
Does the brunt of a lot of this work fall into our IT department? On the call center?
No,
As far
everything
as setting
should
up the
be,
systems, it's all handled.
the architect and the company that we're using are doing everything.
Yeah, they had approached us asking our recommendation, and since they built that, all we're doing is modeling our systems that we currently run throughout the city, and they're implementing them. But Huber will be involved in this at a small point because of the security side. But basically, everything we're going to be pitching to, I forget the gentleman's name. He has an IT company set up that we'll work hand in hand with, but it does fall under that bubble, that spectrum.
Okay. Moving on to planning, only increase here is personnel.
I do have a question.
Take it away, Harry.
Oh, well, so the 5 positions that were proposed yesterday,
Yes.
are all of those budgeted now?
They're in there right now, yes.
There.
Correct.
Because I was just gonna say, I think that the IT position, what do you call it, secretary, I think those should take priority over the 3 techs, that if something has to get cut, that those two roles.
Also, this is out of a completely different fund.
Yeah, I know. I did-
Those 3, and all those are in, they're in
But they're all
individual
in.
funds. They're all in right now.
Good enough.
Um,
One question, here, you're not gonna go to any conferences or do any traveling? Because that's
You know-
zero budgeted?
It is the conference.
Well, conferences is one of those things for me. I went to the housing conference last year, didn't get a whole lot of use out of it. I don't get much out of the national or state planning conference, and candidly, I don't just like to spend the city's money just to go and stuff. It's one of those things. I will tell you that Cole and I are trying to find something that is land use law based that we might be able to go to together. But they, in his words, they kind of just come out 3 months ahead of time. And if he finds one, he'll bring it up, and then if I need to bring it back to you all to go, then I'll do that. But I won't budget just an amount when I don't have something specific to go to.
Okay. Good enough.
Right.
Any other questions on planning? Okay, moving on to engineering. The 2 GPS units that were talked about yesterday, the replacement of the Jeep and the Explorer, and a centralized printer upstairs at Public Works is included in here. And then the difference in personnel, the reason it went down is because we replaced the engineering position with the project manager. But this does include 2 summer interns. Any questions on engineering? Okay. IT. All of these items, most of them were talked about yesterday. But Michael, I'm sure would be happy to answer any questions. This includes the addition of the IT support specialist as well in personnel.
Are you planning to have that person, that new hire, target reducing our subscriptions? And
how we're spending money externally, or are you continuing on that, or how's that work?
Reducing subscriptions.
Well, just money that we're outsourcing, like bringing this person in and trying to bring more stuff in the house, right?
In the long run, that's the goal. That'll be closer towards the end of the Huber contract, as Kevin and I kind of talked about, Alderman Rucker and I talked about yesterday. But by bringing this person in, there isn't going to be an immediate reduction in anything currently. But the hope is to just completely change the philosophy of how we're running things.
There's not a plan for it, but to change it.
Yeah, and 2 years down the road, I'll be coming to you with a completely different vision.
When is the Huber contract?
We're currently in the first year of a 3-year contract, so.
We got a while.
Correct.
The thing that you sent out earlier for the security upgrade.
The switches, man.
Yeah, so I didn't see like labor, is that Huber comes out and installs all that, or do you guys do that?
Kind of, we split between the two, but that's in a different line item. We have that in, what's the line? Professional services. So you guys give us the ability to, Huber charges us $8,100 for monthly to advise us on cybersecurity, networking, and phones. And we have a little bit of cushion built into that contract that you guys approved last year, or the board approved last year. So it will come out of a predetermined budget amount that we roll into year to year that contract, which is $151,000. Don't quote me on that, but it leaves us money for projects such as this upgrade. And that's under professional services.
But the document that you sent, that you emailed earlier.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's just for
That's all hardware. Yeah, just capital. Correct.
Okay.
And I do have the quote on the project. It was $7,800 to do all 5 sites, around $8,000.
Okay.
But again, that's out of the O&M fund, not capital.
Okay.
Kevin, was the budgeting software 40,000 or 65,000?
It's 40 is the implementation, and then the 25, or no, I got that backwards. It's the other way. 25,000 for implementation, 40 annually. So the 25,000 we'll never pay again. That's just the first time capital expense.
Does Huber provide our insurance?
They do not. That is Gallagher, correct.
Is that, we had that reviewed, how do we know what number we should have on that?
So that's a good question. I've been attempting to work with Maddie, obviously with her being pregnant, but when we were with Forward Slash, we worked with Gallagher, and Gallagher gave us a benchmark. You need to adhere to A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That way we know that you meet all requirements to adhere to your $2.5 million policy. I've not seen that in the last 24 months, so I've actually reached out to Gallagher multiple times trying to figure that out. But we just adhered to the same standard that we had 4 years ago, and we worked that with Huber. But it is Gallagher that we do for we go to for our cybersecurity insurance.
Because if that, God forbid, it happens.
Correct.
They're going to do everything.
100%.
So that needs to be locked down.
Which is why all the trainings are that exactly. And a lot of that is the 2-factor authentication. The projects that we have put through, and a lot of that is like this switch upgrade, is to make sure that we can show them we are doing everything capable of obviously securing our environment, to include our cybersecurity trainings.
I just wasn't sure if that needed to go into an overall insurance review that may be coming, or if that is specific to your department.
I guess we could include that when we go out to bid. Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with.
Yeah, we could include that when we go out to bid.
Well, it helps gives us direction to work with Huber as well.
Yeah, I would suggest it, because God forbid if it happens, it's bad.
Any other questions on IT? Okay, we're going to emergency management. Only increase here was for siren maintenance. Any questions on emergency management? economic development. So we've included the market study that was talked about during strategic planning, the 15,000 more for the 4th of July event. Next year, that since MML is going to be in Osage Beach, I had Eric throw out some ideas on how we could, as a city, be a sponsor and promote an event. So I will let him describe what he has come up with on that.
So I think the idea is how do we get to Osage Beach, really put our best foot forward during MML while we have a chance, right? And so I put together kind of a program where I'll break it down into merchandise and then activation. So at the end of the day, if somebody's coming in, let's give them a swag bag, welcome them to our city. We're gonna have a booth there, we're gonna sponsor the internal venue there. And the booth giving out, have swag there to give the people and whatnot. And then one of the things I think we need to do is we need to grow our followership and we need to get people to opt in for our newsletters and whatnot. And so the idea here is maybe we could work with some of our businesses around things, put together like an all-inclusive weekend getaway that people can sign up for a raffle to win as long as you opt in for our communication. So kind of creating that piece of it there. And then as far as the MML activation is, we want to sponsor the exhibit hall. That's part of it where we can get in the hall, it'll be sponsored by Osage Beach, have a bigger presence there. Have a hospitality booth in the exhibit hall. So when people are there, we can welcome them to the city and whatnot. And then the other thing we talked about was doing a welcome cruise on the night before. So I talked to Celebration Cruises. They have one that's boat that's at Margaritaville now, and then they have one that's the dam, that they would bring that down to Margaritaville for us as well. And we would be able to send out invites to about 250 people. I think we'll have about 500 people coming to MML from what I've been able to see in research. It's like the first 250 people, they wanted to opt in, we would take them on a cruise and show them the lake. And, we got both boats. Half of us would be on one boat, half of us are on the other boat. So we then engage with everybody while they're there and do everything there. And then I also...
Is that opening night?
Opening night is what I'm thinking there. And then the other thing is we've all talked about doing some type of video for the city and upgrading. It's been a while there. So I actually built that into the budget here as well. And so right now, if we went with both boats, the sponsorship and then the merchandise giveaways, it's approximately $33,000 to do that. And again, it's all built like a menu. If we want to do this, if we don't want to do that, we can figure that out. But again, and then the other thing I did, so I sent out to all the department heads today, talked with Devin last week in April, and understand that the MML has their awards. And so challenge all the department heads today to start thinking about ideas of things that we could submit, because you can only submit one on behalf of the city. And so by early December, come back to us with ideas so we can vet that out during our December staff meeting, and then that way we know what we're working towards to submit something, because I think it'd be great that we're winning an award while we're there, we're showcasing the city while we're there, and again, driving engagement that way. So that's the bigger expense there.
And St. Charles did a really good job. Their video in the beginning, their speaker, all that was really well done, I thought. We had breakfast down the first morning. I was impressed with it, so it was a good Monday. I expect the turnout to be, everyone wants to come to the lake. Absolutely,
The other challenge I can see is figure out which night to do it. Now, there's no way to really organize that. Tuesday night's always a banquet,
Right.
whether Monday night or Sunday night.
Well, I really wanted, I kind of got the feeling when we were at ML this year was everybody went to Cochrane on Sunday night.
Yeah.
And then they kind of would burn out on Monday night. So I felt like maybe if we hit it Sunday night and start out with our event, we would get better attendance.
Is Cochrane not going to do something?
I have no idea.
Well, there's 4 organizations that go together. Cochrane,
/
Stephen Nichols.
And I remember the other one, American Water.
Oh, that's right.
American Water.
There's 4.
I think we should reach out to them and try to not plan it at the same time as theirs. That's the only thing.
Okay.
All right.
The only thing is, they know they're doing theirs, or do we know?
Well, and that was the other reason I had Eric reach out so soon, is because my guess is someone else is gonna wanna do this cruise. They're gonna wanna get something on the books. So if
They
we,
were on that phone last time they were here, and they didn't take it.
okay,
What about entertainment the night of the banquet? They had the dual pianos this year, and MML. I just wondered.
They usually figure that into their cost to do bank.
That's
yeah, that's
on
on MML.
It's on MML?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that, okay.
I love the cruise idea. I'm just trying to gauge the mileage here in my head, but you might be able to go all the way to October. Which would be pretty cool.
About 2.5 hour cruise is what it is.
Is that what the cruise is?
Or whatever,
Not
or the
26
reason,
to 50.
the reason they didn't do the cruise a couple years back was because they didn't like the idea that, and it's positive, and you get on and you're
Stuff.
as
Yeah.
compared to what they do now, what they historically have done, you can go to their event wherever it's been, you know, and you can stay for as long as you want or short as you want.
Yeah, that's true.
Make sure you can sell cocktails on there. Just saying 2.5 hours. I would suggest.
We're all on board.
I would
Not
suggest.
all on board, the majority's on board.
Do 1 hour cruises.
I don't know.
I take it down to 1 hour cruises, 2.5 hours. one time.
1 hour is one thing.
I'm concerned about the competing against one of the larger VIP sponsors, Cochrane and Company, on the opening night. But I was saying Monday night's usually a lower attended night for everything.
Well, I believe the year before last, Cochran's wasn't on the first night.
And the year before last,
That's
there
what I
wasn't anything on Tuesday night.
Right.
Wasn't anything on Tuesday. This is
Right.
the first time that there's been something on Tuesday night that's kind of sponsored by, because usually Tuesday nights have been black.
Right.
And that's the reason I think the city of St. Charles took on the Tuesday night thing.
Right.
I'm all for it, just didn't find the right time. Look at that.
Okay, we can do further research on that. The other things in that item are training and conferences increased, community event support increased. We increased advertising. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up was transportation has let us know that most of the banners that go on the parkway and the snowflakes that go along the parkway are deteriorated badly.
They look terrible.
We bought those flags like 3 years ago.
Yeah, they faded.
Yep. So I know last year it wasn't a priority for the board, but I wanted to throw that out again and see if there is a desire for us to redo the banners and the snowflakes.
I already think we hate Christmas.
What was on the banners? Because I know last year, I
Eat-
remember like,
Eat, play.
Yeah, there was a
Relax,
fish.
Recreation and golf.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would hope we could come up with something
just
different
do the
than
snowflakes,
banners.
just replace those. Like,
The lights, just the lights.
yeah.
Yeah, we can get a quote on that.
I really like the lights on Osage Beach Parkway rather than down at the park. Maybe. Wasn't the feedback generally positive, other than the crazy people on?
Well,
Just spread out.
at one time, we had a sailboat that hung out,
Yeah.
that was up and down the parkway, and that was really, I think, very, very impressive.
Well, this
I
year
say
it's
no
the
on
same, right,
banners.
Eric?
Okay.
We're not gonna, we're still trying to replace lights over there, so it's still gonna probably be the same. I like that. I thought that was good.
Like, what's this? What'd you say?
The lights that they did last year here at City Hall.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we're all over the board on this. So general consensus on the banners.
And do you,
Yeah.
and do you want us to do it this
Hello?
year? If the
How much are these
snowflakes?
banners?
Do
Well,
the whole, you do the whole city, I think they're like $40,000.
It was a little less than that, but it was 30,
30,
somewhere in the 30s.
Total was like 65.
Well, snowflakes and banners.
I say the banners.
probably.
I don't want banners.
Yeah,
I'm on the banners, so there's my 2 cents.
Do what?
Didn't the snowflakes last longer because
Banners
they weren't material?
But if we're not gonna replace banners, let's not leave the existing ones up.
Okay.
It's scattered,
Yeah, we can take them down.
fade out.
Yeah.
Let's just remove them and be done with banners.
We tried to put them like the best ones in the best places was what we were trying to shoot for. So is the consensus no banners?
No banners.
No banners. The snowflakes, do you want to replace the snowflakes?
Yes.
Okay, should we do that, if you wanna do that this year and have them ready for this year, or do you wanna budget for it in 26 and have them for Christmas of 26? Because we budgeted nothing this year for holiday lights and banners
You say nothing, you're talking 25.
in 25.
We're not gonna do anything in 25.
Okay. Do you wanna budget something in 26?
So
Yes.
we're gonna skip a year, we're not gonna have any this year, and then we're gonna come back next year?
We have some.
No, we'll use existing ones on their last legs.
We'll use what we've got this year.
We broke it down, missing light ones.
Yes.
I do
So you got
not
some-
see, I thought during our conversations, maybe it was just in April, economic development. Did we discuss 25,000 for next year for additional Christmas lights in addition to the electrical upgrades?
Yes.
And then another 25,000 for 27, and then possibly bringing the lights back to the park at Christmas of 27.
Yes.
Yes. I do not have that reflected in here.
I do remember that.
So
I only put the $15,000 electric upgrades. I thought we were doing the lights in 27.
and maybe, I know
Okay.
we talked about it, and maybe that's my fault for not communicating with them, but,
Okay, 15 was just for the electrical?
50 was just for the electrical, and then talking about 25 additional lights for 26, and then 27, and then the street department, I talked to Rob, he's like, all of our snowflakes are dying.
Right.
So, we don't get more 2 years in a row, I don't know if we can bring it back to the park, and I don't know if that's what the board wants to do with it, so. I get rid of Christmas All the comment, you can be our liaison for Facebook.
It just seems like it should be privatized, like, let everybody do what they want in their own building.
We need a Grinch for our. Yeah, there you go. Got a nominee right there.
A number of businesses in the last several years have purchased displays to be out in front of their business. Now, last I knew, a lot of them were stored over at Public Works. Other than that, I don't know where they are, but it was, I think at one time we said, well, can we have some kind of a campaign out there to see what other businesses would like to buy? In fact, more displays. But it's a matter of choosing, and then again, the timing of getting them in now, we're looking at almost mid-October. But the displays were really quite popular.
So we have 10 displays.
No, we have.
Well, some businesses bought theirs.
We don't have any privately owned lights in storage, I can tell you that.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend that either.
That we set up throughout the city in front of businesses.
And some of the businesses took it upon themselves.
Okay,
Yes.
and I guess I'm going back to Parkway West would be,
Trying to get electric put on a lot of the poles, and the city paid for that electricity since we're paying for the lights.
Right.
So park and street lights, and allow the business people, hopefully it will incentivize the business people to put some decorative lights in front of there. They pay for the item, we pay for the electricity, and obviously it's a win-win both, but that's.
So what do you think about me adding 50,000 for next year for holiday lights
Try to come up with a plan.
and come up with a plan? 25 for him, at least 25 for snowflakes, and we'll work from there. Okay. Okay, I added 50,000 in
So
there.
the banners will be officially removed.
Banners will be
When we pay the
removed.
snowflakes
Got that,
out,
Jen?
and then no more banners.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions on economic development? Okay. The only other portion in general fund is us subsidizing ambulance, which this year it will be, or for fiscal year 26, 623,000. Okay. Moving on to capital improvement expenditures. The transfer to general fund is the 85,000 for the dog park bathroom and 15,000 for the city park electrical upgrades. I will probably end up adding the 110,000 as well for the pavilion into this as well. And then the 1.955 million is transferred to the sewer fund, which will go down whenever we calculate the utility rate increase and the decrease in personnel. Any questions on capital improvement fund?
Wasn't that many dollars of stuff that we didn't do? Because we had almost $2 million to be transferred to general, and we only transferred 136,000.
315 was budgeted and we only transferred 136,000. That's because Hatchery Road came in so much cheaper than what we budgeted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes.
So I only took out of this fund what was needed to cover the projects that was budgeted out of that fund originally.
The other one was water and sewer. We didn't do anything. We had $1.6 million that was supposed to go to water and sewer in 2025, and it didn't go.
It's going.
Oh, it's gonna go.
It's going.
Okay, because in here it shows it's.
Yeah. It's going.
Okay.
It can't not go.
Well, I couldn't figure that out
Me
either.
and Carrie gave me bad news today and it has to go.
Well, I figured that. I couldn't
So-
why. Okay.
Yep. Any other questions on CIT? Okay, moving on to ambulance. We're gonna get out of here on time, guys. Okay. Personnel expenditures went up, but everything else went down. There is no operating capital and no debt service. So. And O&M went down $15,000.
We talked about the unions.
Sure.
So, obviously yesterday, you all voted to take the ambulance out. Well, not all, so it didn't make the cut.
Didn't make the cut.
Let's put it that way. With that being said, if our vendor that we got the bids from last year penciled this in, even if we ordered an ambulance January 1 this year, we won't get it till first quarter 2027. If we scratch that all together and don't do anything, we're looking at probably a 2.5 year window when we do order an ambulance. With that being said, just wanted to put that out there to you guys. Obviously, we need some building modifications here. We can do the building, if we would go ahead and order it next year, we can do the building modifications in 26, and then we wouldn't have the ambulance cost until 27. Just wanted to throw that out there. I was talking to Tommy about it this morning. That's what our vendor was telling us, that they left us on the list, penciled us in as a placeholder. So we wouldn't have that 2.5 year window, possibly with the ambulance. So I'm just bring it to everyone's attention.
Chief, does Enterprise ever do ambulance leasing?
No, they don't do specialty equipment, order trucks and stuff.
No, but, I'm against the leasing of it, but it sounds like I will probably lose that argument in the majority. Number one, we have to have an ambulance. We don't have a choice. We've got to figure it out. We can't not provide that service. We have to. We can't not do this. We are an emergency service and we have to have a vehicle. And proper vehicles, and we don't have a choice. We've got to figure it out. And one of the ways that I think we could do it, even though I'm not really fond of it, but if we end up doing this leasing program, and that's gonna make some funding available. And maybe it's not $100,000 that we need for the ambulance, but if it opens up $150,000 next year, from what it sounded like, it might open up that $200,000 next year, then you put that, and then another year, it's not gonna, if we order it, it's not gonna get here till 27. You do that 2 years in a row, there's some there. So, I mean, there's a chunk of it. That's just one brainstorm. We have got to do it. We just got to figure it out. We've got to challenge staff to figure it out, come up with a way. We have no choice. We've got to do it.
We have done a 3-year lease on an ambulance in the past.
Lease purchase.
Yes, lease purchase.
That was the other thought. I forgot that window. We've got to do it.
Well, I kind of echo what Robert is saying. If we continue to use this process, which I really like, by the way, we're never going to get it in this because it's going to continue to get pushed out. Why? I think we have to look at this differently. Like if it's lease purchase, or we buy the bulk, we pay for it, CIT. I don't know what the answer is, but and hopefully maybe when we have our meeting with Hunter, there's something that comes out of that. Which we're doing next week. But again, I think I agree with all those about we've got to do this a different way. Because if we do it like this, I don't think we'll have a good time.
I'll just say this, and not to get the cart in front of the horse, but we have had some discussions on how to fund that. So, we're still working on those, but that's in our thoughts as well. So, stay tuned.
Who can provide us more information on the leasing option?
The last time we did it, we put it out to bid to our local banks or.
It's a common thing that I bought a fire truck. So
I'd like to see how those numbers come down. As an option to go lease as opposed to outright purchase.
Okay. Well, that concludes this evening, unless anybody has any additional questions or comments.
I got one comment.
Sure.
I will commend you, this is your first budget workshops. You were part of them last year, but not,
Yeah, no, this is my second round.
they weren't 100%, but a lot of it was materials and journals.
she had all that.
And,
Yeah.
I don't know about Gina supplied stuff.
No, it was all me.
It was all you?
Yeah.
I thought Gina had a lot to do with all the numbers and stuff you were doing.
Good job.
Thank you. I
Just
appreciate
commend you
it.
on it. Job well done so far.
Thank you.
So far.
Thank you. I'm doing my best.
Anybody have any comments? See, yeah, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned until Thursday.
All the record, second, Alderman Collins, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, meeting adjourned, thanks everybody.
Can we leave this stuff here again?
Yeah, you can leave it here. It's not going anywhere. Then we don't have anything in here till Thursday.
Because the only thing I wanted to say